Hello and welcome. Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy, and coming up over the next hour. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi monitors the Mpox outbreak overseas after the WHO declared it a global public health emergency. Enhanced surveillance for prompt detection advised at a high-level meeting. Volodymyr Zelensky says Ukrainian troops are strengthening their positions in Russia's Kursk as Kyiv comes under missile attack. Belarus's Lukashenko says his troops have been deployed all along the border with Ukraine. Benjamin Netanyahu says Israel is engaged in complex negotiations but also has to uphold principles vital for its security as US Secretary of State Antony Blinken makes his way to Tel Aviv to press for peace. And Chicago is all geared up to host the Democratic National Convention starting Monday, where Vice President Kamala Harris is to officially accept her party's nomination to take on Donald Trump. First up, as the conflict intensifies in the Kursk and the Belgorod regions in Russia, President Volodymyr Zelensky has claimed that Ukrainian forces are fortifying their positions in Kursk. Russia has hit back with its third ballistic missile attack on Kyiv this month. Now, Belarus has accused Ukraine of stationing over 120,000 troops at its border, prompting it to deploy a significant portion of its armed forces there. Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin is traveling to Azerbaijan on a separate diplomatic mission. Syed Afsar Al Hassan reports.
As the battle rages on in the Kursk and Belgorod regions of Russia, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has renewed his call for more weaponry from its Western allies.
It is crucial that our partners remove barriers that prevent us from weakening Russian positions in the way the course of the war demands. Long-range capabilities of our forces are the answers to the most important and strategic questions of this war.
Zelensky asserted that Ukrainian troops have been strengthening their position in Kursk region of Russia.
The operation is proceeding exactly as we planned. The bravery of Ukrainians is achieving great things. We are now strengthening our positions. The bridgehead of our presence is becoming stronger.
On the other side, Russia has carried out its third ballistic missile attack on Kyiv this month on Sunday. The head of the Kyiv military administration has accused Russia of using North Korean-made ballistic missiles. Kyiv regional governor reported that 2 private houses were destroyed and 16 others were damaged by falling debris. Amid war of words, Russia on Sunday denied a report that the Ukraine's attack on the Kursk region had derailed indirect talks with Kyiv on halting strikes on energy and power targets. Its foreign ministry said that there had been no talks with Kyiv about civilian infrastructure facilities. On the northern border, Ukraine has stationed more than 120,000 troops with Belarus. While claiming this, Belarusian president said that the Minsk, in response, deployed nearly a third of its armed forces along Ukraine border.
There are over 120,000 Ukrainian troops on the Belarusian-Ukrainian border. They are keeping them near our border. Seeing their aggressive policy we have introduced there and placed in certain points in case of war, they would be defense. Our military along the entire border.
Despite Ukraine's ongoing incursion in the southern Russian region, Russian President Vladimir Putin is visiting Azerbaijan. He will hold talks with Azerbaijan President Ilham Aliyev. During the 2-day visit, the two leaders are expected to sign several agreements to expand cooperation. Putin is also expected to comment on peace negotiation between Armenia and Azerbaijan. Following years of conflict over the mountainous Nagorno-Karabakh region, which Baku seized in 2023. Syed Afzarul Hassan for DD India.
For more on the latest developments related to this conflict, let's take you across live to DD India's Dasha Chernashova in Moscow. Good evening to you, Dasha. Now, apart from firing missiles at Kyiv, how is Moscow responding to its claims of its soldiers making further inroads into Russian territory, both in Kursk and in Belgorod?
Well, at the moment, we understand the focus is on the evacuation of the civilian population from the border areas and on squeezing out the Ukrainian military from those border areas of Russian territory. Now, we've heard from the American that at least 1,700 people have been evacuated from the border districts of the Kursk region. We're also hearing that evacuations are ongoing in the Belgorod region, but the Ukrainian attacks are persistent, and we understand that several districts have been coming under the repeated challenge drone attacks as well as the artillery strikes from the Ukrainian side, resulting in civilian casualties in both of those regions. Now, we've heard from the head of one of the districts in the Kursk region saying that there are civilians who are attempting to go back to their houses, but she said that was simply impossible at the moment because there was the threat to their lives, but also she said that was interfering with the activities of the Russian Ministry of Defense. Keep in mind that Russia has already closed several settlements in the Belgorod region, and the entry there is prohibited because the operations are ongoing inside there. And the Russian Ministry of Defense said that the total losses of the Ukrainian troops in the Kursk region have exceeded 3,000 people over the course of the days since this incursion has started. They also insist that they are striking the Ukrainian positions both on the Russian territory in the Kursk region, those mobile groups that are in the forests, that are in the settlements, and also in the regions that are adjacent to the Russian border.
All right. And what is brewing on the border with Belarus?
Well, the president of Belarus, Alexander Lukashenko, has given an extensive interview to the Russian news outlets on Sunday. And in that interview, he said that Ukraine has amassed 120,000 troops on the Belarusian-Ukrainian border. In response, he said, Ukraine has been moving its military towards the border with Ukraine. And he said that the border between the two countries is as mined as never before. So in his words, Ukrainian military would incur significant losses should they decide to cross over. He also has said that the Ukrainian incursion into Russia's Kursk region was an attempt to force Russia to react asymmetrically, and that is, he said, to use the tactical nuclear weapons. But he said Russia is refraining from that because Moscow clearly understands that would be, as he said, a gift to the Western countries. Then certainly the international community would be turned away from Russia and from Minsk as well, because there is the union state of both Russia and Belarus. So from the position that we understand that Belarus is taking, they are trying to prevent any attack from the Ukrainian side. We've seen the drones being intercepted, the Ukrainian drones being intercepted in the Belarusian airspace. So certainly a lot is happening there as well, and we will be following how the situation develops.
All right. And what has prompted President Putin to visit Azerbaijan at such a critical juncture?
Well, indeed, there are many questions with regards to why President Putin is traveling to Azerbaijan, particularly now. He is paying the two-day state visit to Azerbaijan that will be held on Sunday and on Monday. The visit, according to the Kremlin, is aimed to further boost the strategic partnership between the two countries. The understanding is that during this visit, they will be signing a series of documents, bilateral ones. The Russian politicians have all been saying that this visit is demonstrating how important relations with Azerbaijan are for Russia. And also we understand that the sides will be talking about the settlements between Armenia and Azerbaijan. But at the same time, the analysts here in Russia say that the very fact that Putin is traveling at this time is demonstrating that he is certain that the situation in Kursk will be settling down.
Okay, let's see what happens. Thanks a lot for joining us for the moment, Dasha Chernashova. Now, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said that Israel is engaged in complex negotiations for the return of its hostages held in Gaza, but also has principles to uphold that are vital for its security. Netanyahu was speaking at the start of a cabinet meeting on Sunday.
At the same time, we are engaged in negotiations for the release of our hostages. This is a national mission of the highest order. We are holding very complex negotiation in which the other side is a murderous terrorist organization that is unbridled and obstinate. However, I would like to emphasize we are conducting negotiations and not a scenario in which we just give and give. There are things we can be flexible on, and there are things that we cannot be flexible on, which we will insist on. We know how to distinguish between these two very well.
Now, India's Home Minister Amit Shah presented Indian citizenship certificates to 188 Hindu refugees from neighbouring countries under the provisions of the Citizenship Amendment Act on Sunday in Ahmedabad. The Citizenship Amendment Act seeks to fast-track the process of granting Indian citizenship to Hindus, Sikhs, Buddhists, Jains, Parsis and Christians who migrated to India from Bangladesh, Afghanistan and Pakistan due to religious persecution, provided they've lived in India for 6 years and entered the country by the 31st of December 2014. In his address, the Home Minister said that the provision of Indian citizenship to refugees under the CAA is a measure designed to ensure justice and grant rights to them.
CAA सिर्फ देश के लाखों लोगों को, देश में बस रहे लाखों लोगों को नागरिकता देने का कार्यक्रम नहीं है। सीएए देश में बस रहे लाखों शरणार्थियों को न्याय देने का और अधिकार देने का कार्यक्रम।
Now let's hear some reactions from the beneficiaries of the Citizenship Amendment Act.
मैं 2008 में पाकिस्तान से इंडिया आया था। हम 6 लोग आए थे। हम जब यहाँ से ये आए नहीं आए हिंदुस्तान में, हमको बहुत दिक्कत थी। हमको स्कूल का दाखला नहीं मिल रहा था, नौकरी नहीं मिल रही पापा को। फिर 2014 में जो लोन निकला था एक, उसमें आधार कार्ड पान कार्ड बनाया मोदी जी ने। फिर अभी तो सीए का निकला है जो, उसमें बहुत खुशी हुई। आज मेरे पापा को मिली है, कल हमको भी मिलेगी, ऐसी हमको आशा है। मोदी जी से बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद मानते हैं।
आज जो सुनहरा अवसर है हमारे लिए, तो मैं तो 2012 में आया हूँ यहाँ पे, और आज 12 साल के बाद तब जाके हमें सीए के माध्यम से हमें ये सिटीजनशिप मिली है। मैं बहुत बहुत आभारी हूँ सरकार का, जो विस्थापित हिंदू के लिए काम कर रही है।
And what is the Citizenship Amendment Act and why was it necessary to bring change in a law in 2019 to grant citizenship to citizens of Pakistan, Bangladesh and Afghanistan belonging to 6 communities, that is Hindu, Sikh, Buddhist, Jain, Parsi and Christian? DD India's Mihir Makhri has tried to explain it.
As India's Home Minister, Amit Shah distributed citizenship certificates to 188 Hindu refugees under the provisions of Citizenship Amendment Act in Ahmedabad. Let's explore some of the key features of the CAA and understand why it was necessary. The Citizenship Amendment Act 2019 amended the Citizenship Act of 1955. The CAA grants Indian citizenship to illegal migrants from India's neighbouring countries, which includes Afghanistan, Bangladesh and Pakistan. Some of the eligible groups includes Hindus, Sikhs, Buddhists, Jains, Parsis and Christians. Under the CAA, individuals from these communities entering India by 31st of December 2014 are not deemed as illegal migrants. The relaxation includes reduced residency requirement from 11 years to 6 years for these communities to acquire Indian citizenship. The CAA exempts these 6 communities from prosecution under Foreigners Act 1946 and Passport Act 1920. But why is Citizenship Amendment Act 2019 necessary? On humanitarian grounds, CAA offers dignity and rights to religious minorities persecuted for their faith in India's neighbouring states. Civilizational ethos. CAA On the front of civilizational ethos, CAA aligns with India's tradition of being a refuge for persecuted minorities. National interest, CAA will deter illegal immigration into India in future from specific communities. Now let's take a look at the grim situation of these religious minorities in Pakistan, Bangladesh and Afghanistan. First, situation of minorities in Afghanistan. Afghanistan's constitution discriminates against non-Muslims and establishes Islam as state religion. In March 2020, a terrorist attack on a Sikh Gurudwara in Kabul killed 25 and injured 8. In 2021, Indian government evacuated 669 people as part of Operation Devi Shakti. Under Operation Devi Shakti, members of Afghan Hindu and Sikh communities were evacuated. Situation of religious minorities in Pakistan. As per India's Home Minister Amit Shah, Hindus in Pakistan decreased from 23% in 1951 to 3.7% due to persecution. Amnesty International criticized Pakistan's blasphemy laws for arbitrary enforcement. Pakistan's blasphemy laws led to harassment and persecution of religious minorities. Situation of minorities in Bangladesh. As per India's Home Minister Amit Shah, Hindus in Bangladesh decreased from 22% in 1951 to 10% in 2011. Recently, hundreds of Hindu demonstrators took to the streets of capital Dhaka, protesting against attacks on their properties in different corners of Bangladesh. TV footage showed vandalism, looting and attacks against minorities and their places of worship. All of this communal violence gripped the country after the fall of Sheikh Hasina's regime. Mihir Makri's report for DD India.
And still to come on DD India News are India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar is in Kuwait on an official visit. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy. Now let's tell you more about what is happening as far as the Israel-Gaza conflict is concerned. We told you about Benjamin Netanyahu's comments earlier in the show. Now US Secretary of State Antony Blinken is all set to arrive in Israel amid increased diplomatic efforts to reach a deal to end the fighting between Israel and Hamas and free Israeli hostages. This is Blinken's 10th trip to West Asia since the conflict began in October last year. The top US diplomat is meeting Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Monday. Gaza ceasefire talks are to take place in Doha, mediated by the US, Qatar and Egypt, and they are due to resume next week as well. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been continuously monitoring the monkeypox or Mpox situation in the country in the wake of the outbreak of the disease in other parts of the world, prominently in Africa. As advised by Prime Minister Modi, Dr. P.K. Mishra, Principal Secretary to Prime Minister, chaired a high-level meeting to review the status of preparedness for Mpox in the country. The World Health Organization has again declared Mpox as a public health emergency of international concern on the 14th of August this year in view of its prevalence and spread across many parts of Africa. The high-level meeting was briefed as of now that there is no reported case of Mpox in the country. According to the current assessment, the risk of a large outbreak with sustained transmission is low. Principal Secretary to the PM, Dr. P.K. Mishra, directed that surveillance be enhanced and effective measures be taken for prompt detection of cases. He further directed that the testing laboratories network should be geared up for early diagnosis. Presently, 32 labs are equipped for testing. An awareness campaign will be taken up regarding preventive public health measures against the spread of the disease. Let me now go across to DD India's Arun Sharma for more on this across on the phone line. Arun, what more can you tell us in terms of how is a vigil being maintained that Mpox just does not get entry into India?
Well, Gautam, if you recall that during the COVID times, the first case was registered in China, or initial reports came in about the COVID pandemic in China. India started its high-level ministerial meeting to ensure that COVID outbreak does not spread, and various high-level meetings were chaired. Now we have seen that Mpox, when the World Health Organization has termed this Mpox as a disease of an international concern, India is completely geared up to fight this disease. But the good news is that, from 2022 till March 2024, only 30, Mpox patients we have seen. And, as of now, there are no reported Mpox patients here in a country like India, developing country like India. Now, interestingly, we have seen that globally there are close to approximately 1 lakh cases, and we have witnessed more than 200 deaths globally. But now the good news is that this disease does not spread rapidly. But yes, today an important meeting was chaired by Dr. P.K. Mishra. Under his chairmanship, the meeting was chaired, and complete review was taken as far as the infrastructure, the health infrastructure that India has. We know this by the 32 labs as far as testing this Mpox is concerned. So India is completely geared up, and the airports are completely geared up, and the strict measures are to be taken by various institutions and authorities so that this does not spread. And close surveillance and strict surveillance has been instructed to various institutions and of course the airports to ensure that this disease, to keep a check on the arrival of the passengers, and of course the strict surveillance measure needs to be taken. So yes, an important meeting was chaired today, and we know this by the Prime Minister Modi is constantly monitoring the situation as far as Mpox is concerned.
Mpox has been found in Pakistan, so any concern there, any special measures to ensure that it doesn't somehow cross over?
So we know this fact, Gautam. As of now, this was briefed to Dr. P.K. Mishra as well, that this Mpox does not spread very rapidly. I mean, in COVID, we have seen it how the variant used to transmit immediately. But as far as Mpox is concerned, it has been briefed in the high-level meeting that the transmission intensity is very low, number one. Number two, if you are in very close contact with a person who is suffering or who is suffering from the Mpox, and of course, if you're in the close contact and various guidelines have been issued, in that context only we see that this transmission taking place.
Okay.
So the transmission capability of this Mpox is not very much high.
All right.
Good news. So yes, of course, we have seen that Pakistan has witnessed this Mpox case, but as of now, a strict surveillance has been taken by the Indian authorities as well.
All right. Thanks for joining us, Arun, with those updates. Now, let me also bring in DD India's Isabel Nakiria, who's joining us from Uganda's Kampala for the latest on what's happening there. Now, good evening to you, Isabel. The DRC may be the epicenter of the ongoing Mpox outbreak, but it's spread to about a dozen African Union nations, including Uganda. So how severe is the outbreak there?
Absolutely true. The DRC remains the epicenter of this emergency outbreak, but of course it has spread to a dozen other countries surrounding the DRC and in Africa. In Uganda, 2 cases were reported, and those 2 cases have now healed. They are now fine, but of course they were imported from the DRC. And of course the countries around the DRC are ramping up measures at the border crossings and at the airport to increase preventive and awarenesses and tracing of contacts, as well as case management. But of course, the WHO has warned that this is, of course, cause for alarm, and countries need to speed up preventive measures. And the WHO, working with partners, are collaborating with these countries to ensure that they preventive measures in all these countries and at the borders. In South Africa, where there have been reported about 13 deaths, the South African president says they have formed incident management teams to try and, ramp up these efforts so that the cases do not spiral as people are expecting.
All right. There are people who are already fearing the return of COVID-like restrictions to prevent the spread of this latest Mpox strain. Now, are those apprehensions and overkill a bit too much?
I could say it can be yes and no. Yes, because if countries do not speed up efforts to, try and prevent any cases from going further up, then cases could actually go higher than it's actually happening. But the WHO is trying to ensure that vaccines are released on time. It's already released $1.5 million to countries and trying to enlist these vaccines for emergency use. And of course, testing kits are being taken to the countries affected. But it could also spiral any further because if countries are not trying to ramp these efforts up. But with COVID-19, it was a viral infection that was spreading through the air, and that was why the infections were rising high. But with monkeypox, where infections are on close contact with, people with, liquids and sexually, this could actually not spiral as people are expecting it to.
All right. All right. That's a relief to know. Isabel, thank you for joining us from Kampala. Now, the Democratic Republic of Congo is grappling with a severe Mpox outbreak, claiming over 500 lives and spreading to neighboring countries. A new, more deadly variant, Clade 1b, is worsening the crisis. The Africa CDC has reported that cases across the continent have surpassed last year's total, with the hospitals in Pakistan's Peshawar also preparing for a possible outbreak.
The Democratic Republic of Congo is at the epicenter where the outbreak of monkeypox has claimed over 500 lives. Africa Center for Disease Control and Prevention reported that the number of suspected or confirmed Mpox cases logged across the continent since the beginning of this year has already exceeded the total reported in 2023.
There are some adults who prefer to go to churches to get prayed for instead of visiting health facilities. By the time they arrive at hospitals, the Mpox virus is at an advanced stage. That's the reason why we have recorded many deaths.
The Mpox cases are also spreading to other African nations as well. As of Saturday, 12 of the African Union's 55 member states have experienced outbreaks. The current figures show a total of 18,737 cases reported since the beginning of the year, including 3,101 confirmed cases and 541 fatalities, with an overall mortality rate of 2.89%. The Mpox cases have also raised concerns in other parts of the world. Hospitals in Pakistan's Peshawar are getting ready for the possible Mpox patients, days after authorities confirmed a case of the virus in an individual who had returned from a Gulf country.
We have prepared a whole 7-bed isolation ward here at Police Services Hospital. We have oxygen concentrators, emergency medicine, IV fluid, IV cannula, antibiotics, antipyretics, and whatever is required by these patients is available here. So far, no patients of Mpox has arrived here. If someone comes, we have full arrangement here.
The cases include 3 strains of the virus, one of which is the newly identified, more transmissible and deadly Clade 1b. This strain began spreading in Democratic Republic of Congo last September. Experts say the Clade 1 Mpox variant is deadlier than a strain that spread 2 years ago, but adequate resources can greatly lessen its impact. Bureau Report, DD India.
And still to come on DD India News Hour, I'll be bringing in our expert guest to talk about a key milestone in the race to the White House in Washington, D.C. back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy. Now, in the race for the White House, all eyes are turning towards Chicago. The Windy City will be hosting the Democratic National Convention for 4 days starting Monday. Vice President Kamala Harris will officially accept her nomination as the presidential candidate in those 4 days and further flesh out her views on key election issues ranging from the economy to immigration. But even the weekend before, the DNC has seen an intense battle between her and Republican rival Donald Trump, with Harris's running mate Tim Walz also landing some punches. Take a look.
How would you like to be Biden? He's working, he's spending money, he's trying. They wanted to have a debate. That's the thing that started it all. You know, if I didn't debate him, he'd still be running right now. But I believe she will be easier to beat than him because she's a truly radical left lunatic.
Donald Trump is no stranger to name-calling. But as the 5th of November election day comes closer, his attacks against Democratic rival Kamala Harris are only getting shriller. Campaigning in the bellwether state Pennsylvania's Wilkes-Barre on Saturday, the Republican presidential candidate not only said that he found Harris easier to beat than President Biden, but also said that he was better looking than her.
I'm a better looking person than Kamala. No, I couldn't believe it. She said, you know, I had never heard that one. They said, no, her biggest advantage is that she's a beautiful woman. I'm going, huh. I never thought of that. I'm better looking than she is.
Harris is also expected to be in action in another part of Pennsylvania on Sunday. And while a strong response is expected from her to Trump's low blows, her running mate Tim Walz was in action in Nebraska's Omaha on Saturday, where he tried to corner Trump on his alleged insidious presidential plans.
Look, when he tries to play dumb about this 2025 plan, I coach football for enough years. When somebody takes the time to draw up a playbook, they plan on using it. He knows what this will do: restrict our freedoms, rig the economy for the ultra-rich by punishing the middle class. If he returns to the White House, he's going to pick up just where he left off. But the people around him who worked with him the first time are already telling us it will be much, much worse.
Meanwhile, Illinois, Chicago is gearing up to host the Democratic National Convention from Monday to Thursday, where Harris is expected to make a showing with President Joe Biden, not only to accept the Democratic presidential nomination, but also flesh out her agenda further. Harris made her first major economy-focused speech on Friday and laid out proposals to cut taxes for most Americans, ban price gouging by grocers, and boost affordable housing. She has had a remarkable run since President Biden bowed out of the race 5 weeks ago. Her campaign has broken fundraising records, packed arenas with supporters, and turned tables on Trump in the polls in some battleground states. But skeptics also say the sugar rush of her sudden entry into the battle zone with her chippy running mate may be wearing off, and she will not only have to reveal more about her presidential plans, but also get all Democrats to pull together while they remain divided among progressives and moderates on key issues like the Gaza war, immigration, health and energy. Gautam Roy reporting for DD India.
Let's now go across to our guest who's joining us from Colorado in the US, someone who's been at the helm of affairs managing Indian diplomacy in the US for a long time as well, and has tracked very closely the trajectory of US politics and elections. We're joined by Ambassador Prabhu Dayal, former senior diplomat. Good evening to you, Ambassador Dayal. What do you make of the prospect of the DNC and Kamala Harris? Some might say that it's going to be just one of those events, ritual perhaps, where she'll officially become the presidential nominee for the Democratic Party. But how critical is it that she gets the Democrats together at this stage to take on the challenge that Donald Trump poses? It's a very formidable challenge, even though her campaign has been gaining some ground on him for these last few weeks.
Well, Gautam, first of all, thanks for having me on your show. A very, very important question which is being asked is, how do things look right now in the election race? Now, it is true that the formal nomination will take place only at the Democratic Party convention in Chicago on the 19th. That is tomorrow. But by all accounts, Kamala Harris has seized the nomination. She will be nominated. Now, of course, the election date, November 5, is still very far away, and a lot can happen in the meantime. However, recent polls here in the United States show that while there is a close fight between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris in key swing states, however, Harris has gained ground in 4 important swing states, that is Arizona, North Carolina, Georgia, and Nevada. Now, let me explain what is a swing state. Generally, most US states are characterized as Democratic or Republican states because that is where the respective party does well. But swing states are characterized by having small vote margins that different political parties won in previous elections. And because of their potential to be won by either candidate, political parties often spend a lot of time and resources on these swing states. There are 7 key swing states: Pennsylvania, where both candidates are currently campaigning, North Carolina, Nevada, also Georgia, Arizona, and Michigan, along with Wisconsin. So how do things look right now? Well, let me mention that according to an article in the Washington Post today, Kamala Harris holds a slight national lead over Donald Trump. Again, according to another article in another prominent newspaper, USA Today, Harris is beating Trump in the polls. I may also mention that according to the prominent news channel ABC News, Kamala Harris is heading to her nominating convention tomorrow in Chicago, leading former President Donald Trump in a head-to-head matchup. So these factors will definitely give a push to her nomination, and I think that she will get the nomination. Of course, ABC News mentions that Trump retains the upper hand on 2 very important issues in the poll: the overall economy and inflation. And he also leads in a third important issue, which is immigration. But then, there is still a lot of time to go till the election, and Kamala Harris is focusing her attention on these important issues. And by and large, people think that the race for the presidency will be very close. And in fact, that right now, she is holding a narrow lead over Donald Trump.
Yes, but Ambassador, they're also saying that Kamala Harris will be under pressure also because there are certain issues that divide the Democrats amongst themselves, and these range from not just economy and immigration, but also what's been happening in Gaza.
Yes, indeed. What has been happening in Gaza is an important issue for the election. But the bulk of public attention is focused on domestic issues. The American voters are more concerned about the important issues which concern them directly. And as I mentioned earlier, the most important of these are inflation, the housing crisis, and immigration. Of course, there are some other issues which are also getting a lot of attention, such as the growing racial and ethnic diversity in the United States, crime, and in fact, even reproductive issues. I may mention that abortion is an important issue. Harris supports abortion rights, and she is making reproductive health care central to her presidential campaign. And Trump has said that he wouldn't sign a federal abortion ban should he return to the White House, and that he would like to leave the issue to the states. So these are important issues. As you said, of course, the Gaza issue and the Russia-Ukraine war are also getting attention, but domestic issues seem to be dominating.
And what about Donald Trump himself? He's been sharpening his attack and saying a lot of things which he probably might not have said, if, of course, if Joe Biden had still been in the race, it would have been a totally different contest. But even to comment about who is better looking than who, isn't that taking things too far?
Let me mention that Trump's close allies and friends have begun to urge him to stop making personal attacks against Kamala Harris and instead to focus on what his message is. Kamala Harris has seen her campaign continue to gain momentum. And frankly, Donald Trump has struggled to find an effective line of attack. In fact, many political analysts feel that Trump is struggling to find an effective way to counter her campaign. Let me mention that Jon Stewart, who's a very prominent person who hosts the Daily Show program, said in very unambiguous terms that Donald Trump is clearly struggling to come up with a message now that Vice President Kamala Harris has replaced Joe Biden as his campaign rival.
Well, his message is also that she's a left lunatic. That's what he said.
Well, he has said all kinds of things. But, comparing Trump with Kamala Harris, Stewart has said that now he has to run against somebody who appears healthy and youthful and happy. And he's also commented that Harris's vigor stands as a stark counterpoint to whatever advantage he had vis-a-vis Biden. I may mention that another well-known political commentator, Susan Glasser, has said that it is clear that Donald Trump would rather be facing Joe Biden, and he doesn't really know how to counter the surge of Kamala Harris's campaign. But very tellingly, an important newspaper, the Daily Beast, has said that while delivering his speech at rallies, Trump slurred his words, and he sounded as if he was speaking with a lisp. So things are not going well for Donald Trump in terms of many of the political analysts. But of course, as I said, there is a long time to go, and the voter bases are very strong in certain states. The key swing states can make all the difference, and that is where the presidential candidates are focusing a lot of their energy.
Yes, certainly, and we'll have to see how things shape up, whether Kamala Harris can take further advantage of the kind of slim lead that she's managed to get at this stage, or whether Donald Trump can come back. He has come back from very, very adverse situations, not even in politics, but also in business in the past, so you never know. Thank you for joining us, Ambassador Prabhudeya, to talk about it. Now, the Venezuelan diaspora has gathered in Colombia's capital, Bogota, to join the global protest called by the Venezuelan opposition to protest against the results of the presidential elections amid accusations of electoral fraud committed by Nicolas Maduro. Colombia has received the highest percentage of Venezuelan citizens who have fled because of the political and economic situation in their country. Let's now take a look at some other stories making news around the world as well. Heavy rains lashed alpine regions of Austria and left parts of Vienna underwater during the weekend, causing severe damage in parts of the country and disrupting road and rail transport. Torrents of muddy water swept cars through a ski resort in western Austria on Friday, as shown in the footage which was posted on social media. Firefighters battled flames from a German music festival, Festive, that left at least 5 people wounded. According to the local police, 4 people suffered burn injuries, with 1 person getting injured due to falling. The cause of the fire is still being investigated, and organizers did not immediately issue a statement that incident taking place in Leipzig. Celebrated French actor Alain Delon, who starred in a string of classics such as Pine Soleil, Les Samouraï, and Rocco and his brothers passed away at the age of 88. With striking blue eyes, Delon was sometimes referred to as the French Frank Sinatra for his handsome looks. Delon was idolized by men and women alike, along with American cinema giants including Burt Lancaster, when the Frenchman played the apprentice hitman Scorpio in the eponymous 1973 film. Thai King Maha Vajiralongkorn on Sunday formally appointed Paetongtarn Shinawatra as Thailand's new Prime Minister. This will pave the way for the formation of a cabinet in the coming weeks. Paetongtarn arrived with the father, former Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra, at the Pheu Thai Party headquarters to attend a royal endorsement ceremony a short while sometime back today. She said she will continue with all the policies that former Prime Minister Shreta was following. She also said her government will try to stimulate the economy, combat illegal drug problems, and improve universal health care. On the issue of her father being part of the government, Paetongtarn said she has not considered a formal position for Thaksin in the government yet, but she will seek his advice. Now, Paetongtarn has become Thailand's youngest Prime Minister just days after her ally Shreta Thavisin was dismissed as Premier by the Constitutional Court. She is the third Shinawatra to be Prime Minister, but will hope to avoid the fate of her father and aunt Yingluck, both of whom were thrown out of power in military coups. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi has congratulated Paetongtarn Shinawatra for being elected as Thailand's new Prime Minister. In a post on X, the PM wrote tonight, quote, "Congratulations Paetongtarn Shinawatra on your election as the Prime Minister of Thailand. Best wishes for a very successful tenure. Look forward to working with you to further strengthen the bilateral ties between India and Thailand that are based on the strong foundations of civilizational, cultural and people-to-people connect." Unquote. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar arrived in Kuwait on Sunday. In a post on X, the minister said, in fact, he thanked his Kuwaiti counterpart, Abdullah Ali Al-Yahya, for the warm welcome. Dr. Jaishankar also called on Crown Prince of the State of Kuwait, Sheikh Sabah Al-Khalid Al-Sabah Al-Hamad Al-Mubarak Al-Sabah. During the meeting, he extended greetings from India's Prime Minister and President Murmu as well. Minister Jaishankar also expressed gratitude to the Crown Prince for his guidance and insights on elevating the relationship between India and Kuwait. Dr. Jaishankar also called on Sheikh Ahmad Abdullah Al-Hamad Al-Jabbar Al-Sabah, who is the Prime Minister of Kuwait. Writing on X again, the minister said he conveyed the greetings of Prime Minister Modi and acknowledged deepening of India-Kuwait ties. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh inaugurated key Indian Coast Guard infrastructure in Chennai, enhancing maritime safety and security along India's east coast. The new Maritime Rescue Coordination Centre MRCC in Chennai, near Napier Bridge, is equipped with advanced communication and monitoring systems to manage distress alerts and coordinate rescue operations for mariners and fishermen. Additionally, the Raksha Mantri remotely inaugurated 2 new ICG units, a regional marine pollution response centre, that's RMPRC, at Chennai Port, and a Coast Guard air enclave in Puducherry. And the Defence Minister also released a commemorative coin to mark the birth centenary of former Tamil Nadu Chief Minister Dr. M. Karunanidhi in Chennai. Again, the event organized by the Tamil Nadu government saw the participation of current Chief Minister M.K. Stalin and Union Minister of State for Information and Broadcasting and Parliamentary Affairs Dr. L. Murugan. In his address, the Defence Minister emphasized Karunanidhi's contributions to Indian democracy and federalism, stating that the former Chief Minister understood that the strength of Indian democracy lies in its ability to accommodate diverse voices and identities. The Supreme Court of India has taken suo motu cognizance of the rape and murder of a doctor at R.G. Kar Medical College in Kolkata. The case will now be heard by a bench led by Chief Justice of India, D.Y. Chandrachud, on Tuesday. The decision to intervene came after 2 Supreme Court lawyers, Advocates Ujjwal Gaur and Rohit Pandey, penned a letter to the CJI on Thursday. They urged him to take immediate action in the case. In their letter, the advocates called for the urgent need for the highest court in the country to step in, given the gravity and seriousness of the incident. Let's now get you some more stories from around the country as well. Kashmiri girls, with their campaign Thanks Jawan, weaved over 200 Rakis in 2 days for the Indian Army soldiers posted along the Jammu and Kashmir border ahead of the Rakshabandhan festival. The Rakhis would be tied to the soldiers serving the country to make them feel at home and not away from their sisters. Rakshabandhan is on Monday. Rain lashed various parts of Delhi, providing much-needed relief from the extreme heat and humidity. Despite this, the heavy showers resulted in widespread waterlogging and major traffic disruptions across the city. Forecast for Delhi indicates more significant rain on the 20th, with light rain continuing to the 23rd of this month with a generally cloudy sky. India's President Draupadi Murmu has greeted citizens on the eve of Rakshabandhan. In her message, she said, and I quote, "On the auspicious occasion of Rakshabandhan, I extend my warm greetings and best wishes to all fellow citizens. Rakshabandhan is a celebration of the unique bond between brothers and sisters, which strengthens the feelings of love and mutual trust. This festival goes beyond religious and cultural boundaries to symbolize the unity and diversity of our country. This festival strengthens our determination to protect the rights of women. May this festival nurture the spirit of harmony and love and enhance the respect for women in society." And on the occasion of Rakshabandhan, markets are bustling with joy and excitement, and the festive spirit runs high as well. DD India's Kriti Vadhera has explored the vibrant markets with latest trends in Rakhis and the delectable sweets that add flavor to this beautiful celebration of sibling love. Take a look.
The festival of Rakshabandhan is synonymous with the bond of protection and love between brothers and sisters. This year, the markets are brimming with innovative and delightful options for shopping that cater to every taste and style. From traditional to contemporary, there's something for everyone. Handcrafted Rakhis with intricate designs studded with pearls and gemstones continue to be a favorite among those who cherish tradition. Meanwhile, eco-friendly Rakhis made from organic materials like seeds and clay are gaining popularity, allowing you to celebrate sustainably.
We have a tradition to tie Rakhi to Lord Krishna also, so I have purchased one for him also. And besides this, I'll be buying some gifts for my brothers.
It has an emotional relevance because we want to celebrate the bond and togetherness we have with our brothers and sisters, with our siblings. So it's definitely special, and it also gives us, as sisters, a very good way to get some cash out of their pockets. So yeah, it's a special day.
Rakshabandhan is incomplete without indulging in some mouth-watering delicacies. Traditional sweets like laddus, barfis and kaju katli remain evergreen choices. However, this year sweet shops are introducing exciting new varieties to tempt your taste buds. There's also a rise in demand for healthy alternatives like sugar-free mithais and gluten-free sweets, ensuring everyone can enjoy the festive treats guilt-free. Special gift items in dry fruits and healthy snacks is in much demand.
Right now, flavor of the market is dry fruit. People are being diet conscious these days, for we have made special gifts of dry fruits and berries.
Women eagerly applying henna on their hands during Rakshabandhans is a cherished tradition filled with joy. The detailed patterns add an elegant touch to their festive look, reflecting excitement for the celebration.
I like Rakshabandhan because I like to put mehndi on my hands.
As families flock to the markets, there's a palpable excitement in the air. Vendors are pulling out all the stops to showcase their best offerings, and customers are enjoying the myriad of choices available.
With unique Rakhi designs and special gifts to choose from, this year's Rakshabandhan will sure to be a memorable one. Whether you choose anything traditional touch or maybe new or exciting, the market has it all. With camera person Shiv Suman, I am Kriti Vadhera reporting from New Delhi for DD India.
Let's get you some sports as well. Talk about football first. Real Madrid are considering allowing players to go on short holidays during the season because of concerns about the congested fixtures schedule. On the eve of their La Liga season debut at Mallorca, manager Ancelotti said that the steady increase in regional and international games on the calendar has been taking its toll on players. After winning La Liga and Champions League double last season and now bidding for an up to 7 titles in 2024-25 campaign. Ancelotti believes the club needs to make sacrifices to preserve the health and fitness of its players. Australia is set to host a one-off test in 2027 against England at the Melbourne Cricket Ground to mark 150 years of Test cricket. Australia won the single innings timeless match played between the 15th to the 19th of March in 1877 by 45 runs before England won the second match at the same venue to tie the series 1-1. In 1977, the 100-year anniversary of the inaugural test was also observed with a test between Australia and England at the Melbourne Cricket Ground, with Australia winning the match again by 45 runs. And now let me just get you an update on what is the situation as far as the Israel-Hamas conflict is concerned. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has arrived in Tel Aviv to push for a Gaza ceasefire so that hostages can be released from their captivity in Gaza. He is expected to meet with Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Monday. There are talks that are set to resume as well, where a number of mediators are meeting in Cairo to ensure that this ceasefire deal is worked out. We'll get you more updates as things move along, but that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India's mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS. You can scan the QR code on the screen to download the app now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Gautam Roy, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.